All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Diane Rose Solomon, and I am the founder of Animal Magic Films. Here we go. Thank you for joining us for the 15th interview in the Science and Magic of the Human-Animal Bond interview series. Be sure to like this video and subscribe in YouTube, and please join our Facebook group, The Science and Magic of the Human-Animal Bond. We will be exploring many of the ways, let me take this off. We will be exploring many of the ways that animals help people, people help animals. It's a both and conversation where we all benefit from the bond. I know I've benefited immensely from my relationship with my pets, other animals, and also a surprise therapy dog visit in the hospital many years ago. I experienced great joy watching other people heal from their interactions with animals, and I am in awe of non-companion animals like wild animals, farm animals, and more. But now we get to hear from you, and specifically today we get to hear from Katenelligan. I'm so excited. People like Kate who are making our relationships with our pets, our communities, and with our natural environment and with ourselves just a little bit better. So please welcome Katenelligan. How you doing, Kate?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's so good to see you. So let me read a little bit about you from your official bio, and then I want to get a better understanding of what you do. So Katenelligan is an equine-partnered life and business coach, healer, where am I? An animal communicator whose life's work is devoted to the human-animal bond. Yes. Kate pairs her intuitive gifts with those of horses to help people access their own inner power and connect to their life purpose. Kate has been a best-selling author, a TEDx speaker, and I watched her TEDx today, corporate marketing VP, and Huffington Post writer. She has a master's in spiritual psychology and is certified in equine experiential education. In equine coaching sessions, she facilitates life-changing transformation with horses and humans around the country. So welcome again, Kate. This is wonderful. Can you please explain what an equine coach is, what an equine-partnered life and business coach is, and what inspired you to do this work?
Sure. Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. Life coaching, which many people know about, or business coaching, is partnered with horses, and we work on the ground, usually at liberty without tack, with horses and humans together for personal and professional growth. Often we're working on emotional intelligence, self-love, self-care, and it really brings in my background and my skill set in spiritual psychology, which is a lot of different communication skills and counseling strategies, to the gifts, the natural gifts of the horse, and merges that so that humans can go deeper into their own clearing and their own emotional mastery. And so it's a really unique modality. Equine therapy has been around longer, and that is more with a licensed therapist. Therapeutic riding is more mounted work, and that is often done usually with like a speech therapist or physical therapist. And so life coaching with horses is still somewhat new, but a really great modality. And for me, it started because I knew that I wanted to be in some form of life coaching after my master's program, but I didn't want to do traditional coaching. I started out doing empowerment workshops with women in 2009, but the horses really came into my life again. I've rode and been with horses my whole life and realized that they would truly be the best partners and colleagues in my coaching practice to help people go deeper and for the work to be faster than traditional coaching or traditional therapy, both of which I've done myself. But I just find that the growth and healing is much quicker when the horses are involved.
Wow. So let me back up a little bit just so for my understanding. So it's life coaching and you're in a ring. Are you in a ring with horses?
Yes.
Okay. And is this one-on-one? Is it groups? What does it look like?
It's both. So I do a lot of one-on-one, often with women who are in career transition or going through any of life's transitions like divorce. And we're working in real time with real issues that are surfaced. Often relationship dynamic issues, relationship with self issues. And that is the one-on-one work, or sometimes even a parent and a child. Group work also happens. And so I'll do themed workshops, sometimes like developing intuition or team building and leadership trainings. And sometimes that's also done with a herd of horses. Sometimes I'll work one-on-one with one horse, but I prefer to work with a herd of horses and a group of people. And they're each doing either one-on-one work with a horse and sharing about it with the group, or they're doing partner work, or they're doing entire group work. And people then really learn from each other's experience as well.
Very interesting. So where you live, do you live with a lot of horses? Or, you know, if you're doing a big group where you want everybody to have their own horse, how does everybody have a horse? How does that work?
Yeah, so I've worked at different ranches throughout my career, and where I currently am in Longmont, Colorado, outside of Boulder, we have 5 horses and a mini donkey, and we have goats. Yeah, so people work with them. And when I go to people's ranches or other ranches around the country, I'm working sometimes one-on-one, one horse and one individual. Or if it's a group, I always like to have usually at least 2 or 3 horses, and people will kind of take turns with the horse. So the horses come right into our group. If we're meditating, they'll actually come right, next to us, put their head on our heart, and really be there for people as these loving batteries. So it changes based on where I'm working.
Very interesting. So you had a corporate background in film. How did we transition from doing that in Los Angeles to working with horses and life coaching in Colorado?
Yeah, I call it my Hollywood to horses story.
Okay.
So what ultimately it was is I was getting my master's in spiritual psychology while working at a movie studio, and realizing that I was at that time more ego driven, and I wanted to be more service and heart driven. And my greatest love has always been animals. It's always been horses at the top often. And so what happened was I was riding at the time. I got back into riding, and then I got introduced to equine therapy because my first mentor was working with addicts in recovery and rehab. And I realized what the horses were doing. I saw transformation happening in 2 hours. That took 2 years in my master's program. And I went, okay, what is this? I need to do this. And it's really the best use of, who I am, what my gifts are, and my background. But I was looking for something more meaningful. I still do marketing support and consulting, but really the coaching is the primary piece of me right now in my work offering. So it was a gradual transition, and it's interesting. It actually happened. A friend said to me one day, she just had this intuitive hit that I was supposed to be working with horses and coaching with horses. And at the time I didn't know what that meant. So I'm like, am I going to be giving motivational advice while I'm riding? Like, I didn't know that it actually existed as a career. So I was so happy to find that this was work that I could be doing in the world. And I'm a huge example that we can do what we love, and our hobby can actually really lead to our calling. So, yeah.
And I've seen videos of you, because you have a wonderful Facebook group, and you share images and videos, and you're just so in your element. I mean, you're just so in your element. You're just the grin that you have every time you're around the horse. I mean, you have a lovely smile anyway, but around the horses, it's just even bigger somehow.
Yeah, I know. People say I glow. I'm like, oh, I'm glowing. Okay. I don't know, but I feel at home with them. I always have. And the human animal bond, as you know, it's like doing so much to us physically and mentally and emotionally that we're not even aware of until we study the science of it, right? So yeah, it's doing quite a bit to my nervous system. That's for good. So
yours, and then I would assume for your clients and everybody who comes into your milieu, if you will,
Yeah.
Right.
People who are afraid of horses come, and I work with them. And as we face their fear in the arena with a horse, right, there's their intimidation of that power or their size. And we work through like self-soothing and grounding, and they start to really come into their body and realize the power is in the present moment. Then they shift, and if they face their fear there with horses, they can face it anywhere in the world. So it translates. So not everyone comes in necessarily loving the horse at the level that I do, but usually they leave loving the horse a lot more. Uh-oh, Diane. There we go.
That's amazing. That's great. I love that. All right, are we back yet? Yeah, okay, good. I
Yeah,
think
we're
that's my
back.
internet. The Wi-Fi.
It's
Okay,
all
good.
good.
So let's talk about the human-animal bond for a second, because we just mentioned it. Your work helps people, right? It's very specific coaching. And then how does it help animals?
Yes. So my sense with the horses is that this is an evolved purpose for them. And I am a huge fan of choice. I'm a huge fan of working with horses that want to do this work, right? There are horses that don't want to do this work. I've met them. And so I'm a huge fan of the horses that want to do this work and also knowing their uniqueness of their medicine. So are they more a healer? Are they more a teacher? Are they more a coach? How are they showing up, right? And they're kind of nuanced energies even in us as humans. And so it helps them because they are of service, they're contributing, they're seen for who they are. They're seen for their higher level gifts, right? We're not just jumping on their back and telling them what to do. Mm-hmm. They're not being used. They are really being partnered with and they're being heard. And this is why I bring in animal communication and other ways of working with them. So I'm literally listening to, and we are listening to the horses. So to me, I feel like it really helps them because it gives them a way to work directly with humans for evolution, for raising consciousness, and they're masters. And so they really can help move us along in our journey. I think it's one of the best ways that we can really receive from them, because otherwise people are just like, oh, that's a pretty horse, and they pet them and it's all about the humans agenda. Whereas I'm really about the human animal bond agenda, right? How do you both benefit? How is there symbiosis? So I think that the horses are just so happy and grateful to get to do this work and they choose it. They come in, they can leave, they can walk away from the client if they need to, or even leave the work area. But they choose to come in, and they love watching humans shift and transform and get into their hearts. And I think they're really proud of themselves. At least that's been my experience, is watching these horses get kind of, they're enjoying the connection, they're enjoying relationship, and then B, they're enjoying how they've been of service, and they're kind of proud of themselves and their gifts. That's been my experience.
That is very cool. So you mentioned animal communication. So there's a bridging the horses through animal communication and healing work. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so ultimately, a lot of people in the equine assisted learning or therapy space, what I notice them doing is reading body language. And that is certainly one form of communication. But to actually hone our ability to hear, and that could be through auditory hearing or through visual hearing or kinesthetic hearing, feeling it in our bodies, we can get more information from everything, from nature, from each other, from ourselves, and certainly from the animals if we open ourselves up to receiving that. And so the way I like to work is often telling the animals who's coming, what we're doing, asking them for guidance, asking them if I ever get stuck with a client, what would you do? What do you have to say? Really bringing them in more. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the only way we can do that is through deeper levels of animal communication rather than just reading body language, or just doing mirroring, which is like getting a horse to do an obstacle and seeing if it resists or if it works with you, and then creating a story off that. That was the way I kind of started working until I evolved and understood there was deeper ways of doing this work.
That is really, really interesting. And you really have to be tuned in. And, and you would want to be a facilitator like you, who really is tuned in, facilitating this kind of work. I mean, it sounds like also that there's different, if you will, levels of this kind of work. There are. Different equine therapy where you don't have to be this tuned in, and people will still get benefit from, not necessarily coaching, but equine therapy and different things. Yes. But for your level of work, really to be connected with the horse is pretty special.
I feel like it is, and I feel like humans can benefit at all those different levels that you mentioned. but is the horse benefiting at all those different levels? And that's what I think we really need to ask ourselves as practitioners. Is the horse just being used as a tool? Is it being used as, like, you could do it with a dog or a lawnmower, or, like, why a horse if you're not actually using the intelligence of that exact species, right? So I think it is important to go to a deeper level.
Very, very interesting. How does your work make the world a more compassionate place?
I hope that it does that through, and I trust that it does that through people taking that journey from the head to the heart. Being ex-corporate, I lived up here for a long time, and the horses helped me remember who I am, right? My true nature, my loving essence. And so the horses have helped me, like, really move from, like, a type A person, a perfectionist, to more of this type B, this softer version. And they've helped me grow compassion for others, because I really see how similar we are as humans as to what we struggle with. I see the way that especially intelligent women are really hard on themselves, or judgmental of themselves, or expect more. I see our core wounds of feeling like we're not enough, or how much we all want to be seen and heard, and how there's an inner child or a younger version of us that's scared sometimes. And so I find that the horses and being with them make me more compassionate. And then I'm a better healer and coach. And then I find that they do the exact same thing for my clients, because we do practices where we'll do heart breathing through heart math, or we'll do we'll hug a horse, and horses will come in. I mean, I've had horses give me full body hugs with their necks and heads, or come up and literally give me kisses as I'm working, and they do it to clients too. And so it's people, when they realize that they can be unconditionally loved, they realize that they're enough, they realize that anything's possible. And from that place of deep presence and acceptance, then their lives start to change for the better. So I just find that the horses are naturally in that compassion energy for us. I think they feel bad for us that we live in our heads so much, and they're really helping. Oh. So yeah, that's how I think it's a ripple effect, honestly, because we're all feeling the power of the love from the horses, and then I'm doing my best to stay in my loving as well. And so all of that then creates a beautiful ripple effect as the client gets there, and then brings that home to their kids and their partners and their world.
And also going back to the benefit to the animals and us being more compassionate towards animals, like when we realize that horses are more than just, oh, that's pretty, or I'm going to ride that horse. When you realize that they can be partners, facilitators, what have you, our messengers, just our guides, if you will, like it just raises our respect level.
Yes.
For them,
yes.
Not just even a little bit, like a lot, at least in my world. And I think a lot of people that I know do.
I love that you said that, because that is my why, which is really, when we respect the horse more, we also start to respect ourselves more. Mm-hmm. And then we go out into the world and we respect all of life more. My favorite story is a girl who didn't necessarily love horses that much, fell in love with them in one session, and the next day became vegetarian. And so, because she applied that respect to all sentient beings, and it was really kind of neat to see that transformation happen so quickly. But we bring the respect out then to nature. And I want that interconnectedness so that we do treat the earth better, we treat each other better, and we certainly treat our animals better.
That's very, very, very true. And also, I just lost my train of thought. I had another thought as you were saying. I'll come back to it. It'll come back to me.
The cycle of respect. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, the cycle of respect. And well, if my thought comes back to me, I'll share it. And if not, another time.
It's all good.
So, as I mentioned earlier, you have a wonderful Facebook community. Tell me what goes on there.
Yeah, so it's called Equine Rockstars. It started because I really wanted a tribe of more heart-centered and like-minded horse folks around the world, and it's been really beautiful. It's growing, and it really is more. There's a lot of horse groups I'm in where it is that like, oh, your horse is so pretty, but I really wanted people to start to see more inspiring content, more uplifting, and have more respect ultimately for who horses are and what they're doing. And so it's not, what's the latest, barrel racing trick. It's like, here's how these horses are being total rock stars in our lives and why we need to like really honor them for who they are. And then I wanted to build community. So there's these great people. I think so many people have made friends through that group. People have gotten interviews and podcasts with other people through that group. So it's just been a nice way to.
Yeah, it's a really nice group. It's a
really
thank nice you. Group. And anybody's welcome to join, correct?
Yeah, Equine Rockstars is a private group now, but anyone can join, and we'd love to have folks there. And there's people from all over, which is fun for me because I feel like if I go to Ireland, I can meet, so-and-so, or if I go to Wyoming, I can meet so-and-so.
That's great. Yeah. That's very fun. And you also just started a horse film club.
Yes, Equine Rockstars Movie Club, also because I wanted to discuss horse movies with other great people. And so the first one we did was Wildlands, Wild Horses, which is a documentary that you also told me about, and got to interview the filmmakers. But that will be once a month, with old films, like some of the classics that we want to rewatch and talk about, and new films, a lot of like documentary or educational pieces. And it really is to foster, again, community, but also critical conversation about some of these topics in the horse world.
Brilliant. And I loved our first meeting. It was really fun. And I learned a lot too. So it was great. I loved watching the film again and getting to meet the filmmakers. That was really fun too. So
thanks.
Great. So do you have a favorite story you want to share before we wrap up?
I felt like I shared one of my favorites before with a client changing so quickly to vegetarian because of the respect of animals. But ultimately, what I love the most is either the minute of the aha and then what it ripple effects into someone's life, or just watching my clients change, like come back and I'm like, what have you been doing? You look happier, you're quiet, you're calmer, you're more connected to your heart and to life. And they're like, just the horses, and so for me, it's really, I just like watching transformation because I feel like we don't have to stay in lower frequencies and upset and stuckness for very long. Like we really can move through it pretty quick. The horses do. They shift their stress really fast.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And one more thing I want to add, because I did say when I sent out my newsletter that you not only share, this love and this connection with horses, but other animals too. And I know you have goats too, and you do work with goats. So tell me really quickly, how does that work? Because goats are adorable.
I know, I love the goats. I have Nigerian dwarfs, and they teach different things in the horses. They teach playfulness, courage, curiosity, bravery. So we always say goat for it. And ultimately that's what they do. They get into stuff. They're very friendly. And often I bring people in with them before the horses because they can kind of get down on the ground. They can get in their hearts. They can brush and connect with a goat and start to talk and open up. And then we can go in with the horses, and it helps people feel more into their bodies and more open to sharing. So it's a really nice blend. And I've done like goat hikes, goat meditations, play therapy. The goats are really powerful for people because they can work similar to the horses in regards to what I would call like the metaphor coaching that happens, where it's like how you do one thing is how you do anything. And we see that with exercises with the goats in addition to what I do with the horses.
Very, very cool. Anything else you want to share that I haven't asked you?
I just love what you're doing. And I love that there is a group about the human animal bond. I think, we both share our love of Habry and the research that comes out around the physical, emotional, mental well-being of being with animals. I would love to see more research around the horses in particular. We need it. But people can, I think you put my website up, but people can reach out to me if they feel called. I'm not just in Colorado. I can come to folks, and I go to Los Angeles somewhat frequently, and it's ConsciousRockstar.com. And the Equine Rockstars is the Facebook group, and Instagram is Katenelligan Equine Coach. And so
I will make sure all of this is in the show notes, and and when I repost this on social media, I'll make sure that everybody can find you in all these different places. So, and
Awesome.
it'll be on my website too, and then you can share it too.
Yay.
So thank you. Yes. So here's Kate's website, ConsciousRockstar.com. Kate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad we had a chance to connect today. And when I'm in Colorado, I'm going to come meet your horses and your goats, and I can't wait for that. So I'm very excited.
Yes.
So
we'll have fun.
Before we go, a few quick announcements. Oh, it'll be total fun. A few quick announcements before we go. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Animal Magic Films. If you are not watching this on Facebook, please join our Facebook group, The Science and Magic of the Human-Animal Bond. And you can visit animalmagicfilms.com and join our community, so you'll learn about any upcoming films. And we're going to have another film coming out in a few weeks, and any other news that's going on. And let's see if there's any stories that you have about the human-animal bond. Please email me directly, and maybe it'll either be on our website or we'll do an interview here like this. So thank you. Here's Kate again, to anybody who wants to learn about Kate. Thank you so much, Kate, for joining us, Katenelligan, and to everybody for joining us today during our interview. And we will be back in 2 weeks with another fabulous guest. So thanks again, Kate. I appreciate it.
Thank you.